hold of one more councillor so that we can have a quorum. Okay, good mornings once again, everybody. Allow me to, first of all, if we can just take a 2 seconds of silent prayer. Thank you very much. Should I say welcome back to myself as the once again elected chairperson of the portfolio for planning, development, and tourism. Also allow me to welcome in our midst all our committee members, Councillor White, Councillor Grootboom online, Councillor Campbell. I'm still not going to jump. Councillor Sharon Sabach have submitted a absent with leave. She's on her way from Cape Town after she got a family emergency, so she will not be present. I've tried to get a hold of Councillor Lowe without any success. So welcome to all our councillors, and then also allow me then to welcome our directors, our newly appointed director of corporate service, Ms. Marlene Boyce. Welcome back to Knysna, and welcome back to the Knysna municipality. I believe that your role, what you've ended up, you will continue fulfilling your role as a director, putting more, what is the word now? Efficiency to our services. Thank you. And I wish you all the best in your continued career in Knysna municipality. Also, warm welcome to our CFO, our Director Planning and Development, all our managers, Mr. Pravi.
Chairperson, I
Yes.
need to give apologies for Director Infrastructure Services. He's not available, and he's asked me to please attend on his behalf.
No problem. Thank you for that. I haven't received any other apologies from anyone else. 2.5, we've done that. Do we have 2.6? Do we have members of the audit committee online? None. Members of the public, none inside, online. Welcome, if there is any. Point 3, the noting of provisions of the Code of Conduct for councillors and declaration of interest. Noted. Thank you, Councillor White. Number 4 on the agenda, matter submitted by the municipal manager, the approval of the final draft Knysna Municipal Spatial Development Framework and final draft Sedgefield Local Spatial Development Framework to proceed with public participation. That is the only item, and then there's also 4.2, the draft informal trading development strategy. But let us first start with 4.1. Director, I give over to you.
Good morning, TM. Good morning to members of the Section 8 committee, CFO and colleagues. Good morning. This is the follow-up session after the Section 8 committee that sat looking at the STF and also looking at the workshop that they had for the Municipal Special Development Framework. There was a resolution that a special Section 8 be convened before the documents can be taken to council so that the Section 8 can satisfy themselves. So we have brought that, the document. We have since had, as all the members know, the workshop, a second workshop after the first one, where the Section 8 members and councillors were present, raising areas that they want to be considered. So we have had an opportunity to do that through our service providers, incorporate those comments that were made, especially on issues of the transition zone, the expected project development for the waste transfer and symmetries, waste to energy, that hub of projects, we said they must also be incorporated in the form of within also part of the projects that are looked at as they will be developed there, subject to, of course, following the necessary legislative requirements, town planning, environmental authorizations. I believe that has been looked into. And then the issue of forestry villages, where it was indicated that they are not clearly reflective within the SDF. Some of them are not there. And the special proposals that we've proposed for them being in, we're saying they are forestry villages and also part of the transition zone, which they need to be developed and provided with some level of infrastructure. So we have noted that in the SDF. The discussions are on the urban edge. They have also been looked at as per the comments. If we remember, we said that the forestry villages were referred to as hamlets, which is a term that is that has been used in the previous SDF. So we had maintained that one, but we have since also reviewed it as per the inputs from the members of the Section 80. I think, yeah, and also the Spatial Development Framework for Sedgefield, there was a request that it also be, take the same format as that of the main Spatial Development Framework in terms of reflective, being fully reflective of the spatial proposals that are being made and also of the needs that they have. There've been a mention to say there is limited land for further development within Smartsville because the proposals that were made for Sedgefield were that there could be some land that can be identified for further human settlement development. But now in the discussions, those were lifted. So these two documents have tried to address those comments that were made. And then from here, members, we are mainly requesting that the members also have a final part of the documents so that we can get approval for it to be taken for public participation, for the 60 days public participation that is required according to the Act. So hence we are here today. We're hoping that we will be able to take this document also to the mayoral committee, as the resolution of the Section 8 indicated that it must also go to the mayoral committee and then to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other input before I give to Councillor Campbell from the department?
Through the Director, Chair, you will also note annexes to this item on page 275 is the itinerary for public participation. And there's also annex where we received comments from province on the draft NISNA MSDF amendment that followed on to Intergovernmental Steering Committee meeting that was held the 6th of December last year. So you will note in the letter from Western Cape DP Chair that they are satisfied with the process we followed to date, as well as the content of the MSDF amendment. However, there is some areas that we still need to address, and that will be done in the subsequent phases, as well as the anticipated public participation process for 60 days. So, we are at this stage on track.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Chair. I think we have engaged with the substance in detail at the workshop. So I would propose that we note that the SDF is ready to go out for public participation as resolved. I think there were more councillors present at the workshop. We were there. We engaged in detail. So I do not really want to engage on the substance. I actually, when I proposed a special Section 80, thought that could be instead of the workshop. So I think it's a bit of a duplication. So I think if we need to then just note it and let it go to the MACO, that would be my proposal.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor White. Anything from your side?
Not at this stage, Chair. Just agree with the comments of Councillor Campbell. Councillors have engaged on the MSDF and the content thereof, so also would support the proposal that we note is it in its current form. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, committee members. We then go with a recommendation on, let me just get it, page 7. that the amendments as reflected in the final draft Municipal Spatial Development Framework, MSDF, be acknowledged and endorsed. B, that the public participation plan as presented in the item be accepted and a mandate be granted to proceed with the participation in respect of the amendments to the draft MSDF. And C, that the final amended Municipal Spatial Development Framework be submitted to the Municipal Council for adoption as part of the Integrated Development Plan in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Systems Act by June 2025. So it was then recommended by Councillor Campbell and supported by Councillor White. Thank you. Can we then go to the next item? The next item is 4.2 on page 276. Okay, the draft informal trading development strategy is a report from the director. Oh, sorry, before I proceed, also warm welcome to the municipal manager. Thanks for embracing your presence here with us this morning. The purpose of the report is the report on the draft informal trading development strategy background is the municipality approved designated informal areas, trading areas in and around Knysna in response to the need for trading spaces in the Greater Knysna. However, some of the designated informal trading areas are currently congested, which have resulted in traders illegally trading on walkways and sidewalks. This further has an impact on pedestrians, specifically around the taxi rank area having to walk on the main road. In addition, incidents of criminal activities have been reported, which has major impact on tourists who visits these trading spaces as part of their site visits to Knysna. The department has therefore developed a comprehensive approach on the informal trading development in order to address the aforementioned issues, more specifically the safety and security of tourists in and around our town. It is envisaged that through this informal trading development strategy, a number of issues which emanates from the current status of the informal trading as a whole could be addressed through implementation thereof. So therefore, I'm just going to give over, but before I give over, this emanates also from various site visits that we as the MACO have conducted around the taxi rank. I've had a meeting last week with my LED manager and the team after the site visit was done by the MACO and administration, and I would like to thank the municipal manager and the mayor in his absence also for taking up that initiative to go to the ground and observe the challenges that we may have around the taxi rank and Nelson Street. Upon observation, for instance, the one that really bothered me was, for instance, as you enter the taxi rank, there was a lady selling some veggies and stuff. And where she was sitting with a stall, there was a blocked drain. And we actually asked her to remove her stuff because it's unhygienic. We have been receiving reports also from our Garden District health practitioners pointing out the challenges at the taxi rank. We have been discussing this quite a lot of times, and therefore I believe that this item is needed for us to start to robustly engage on our traders at the taxi rank in the northern corridors, and also, like I said, along Nelson Street. There was, for instance, because in all our Section 80 meetings, I think Councillor White kept on asking us about if there's 38 permit holders, but there's only trading spaces, but there's only 25, for instance, permit holders on the tax hearing. So upon our observation, we also find that at the back there was the trading space which was standing vacant and no people are operating from there. And in fact, there was two gentlemen sitting there. You could see or sense that they were really busy with illegal activities, either selling drugs or whatever. So those spaces are standing empty, and we've invested some money as a municipality to refurbish those cubicles. And I've raised the question with my department as to why this is standing still. They've given us some reasons as to why. But we will have to look and see how best we can accommodate most of these traders to get most of these ones that are standing alongside on the sidewalks into better spaces. But yeah, let me give over to the director just to take us through, and then I will open up for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, DM. I think mainly, I believe the members have gone through the document, but it is still a working document. What we are going to do from this stage is to input the table that is starting on number 6, the implementation plan, where we are to put the responsibilities. So we'll assign responsibilities, and then the responsible individuals then will put on measures how they are going to ensure there is a budget where there is a need for a budget to be set aside, and also discuss in terms of timeframes. Then once this document has been finalized, which is a very close to finished draft, we said we are expecting in our next Section 80 committee that we will be bringing this document once more, and then we will have engagements with our stakeholders that are relevant for informal trading in all areas. So this is the draft that we are presenting in this special, so that members can go through them. Maybe by the time we come for the next Section 80, they might have come up with recommendations and suggestions on what needs to be added and looked into. It is different now from the draft tourism safety plan. So this one is just to look at the implementation of informal trading. So we are also working still on the tourism safety plan, but it is not part of this meeting, but we will be presenting it also. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Yes, Chair, I think one of the things we need to look at is, like you would have, if we look at a market, like the Sedgefield market, the organisers look at what kind of offerings they have. In other words, vegetables or somebody with their own bread or something. It sometimes doesn't make sense to me. At the rank, you have supermarkets right there too. You've got a place on the corner, like within a few meters, that sells vegetables, and then you have a whole lot of people selling vegetables. Now, one sometimes wonders whether the stallholder is really selling vegetables. I do think we need to start having some strategy where we look at what need is there. Is there also a need in an area where there are so many shops to have so many informal traders selling the same thing? Should we not start looking at having informal trading areas where there's actually a need, where customers actually need those products? And there's not a whole bunch of retail things. I'm not trying to protect big business against competition, but I'm just trying to think of a way where should we not look at where customers are not properly serviced to buy certain items and then open up areas there, and also not, sort of look at exactly what is needed there. There may be things needed at the taxi rank that are not within 2 meters from the other shops. I think that might also, because I do think there is a possibility that some of these stalls are actually selling drugs and using vegetables or whatever as a sort of a cover. So we really need to follow a bit of a sensible approach there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. MM, you wanted to say something?
I was going to say, maybe it will need a stakeholder participation. Even the people that are going to be affected by this document will have to be workshopped so that they can also make an input. I'm running away from a situation where we don't take the issue of public participation. We take decisions here only to find that on the ground the document is rejected because people have not been taken on board. So I was going to advise that let's have the workshop with the affected. If they are small traders, they are small traders. Just workshop it. If we have got to go to all these areas where these people are trading, and also establish a communication with them, so that at the end of the day, we can have a database, we can license them, we can, ensure that they are also workshopped generally, they are capacitated. Because it is our responsibility, Chair, to do that. It's our responsibility, to develop them, in terms of health and safety standards, in terms of the quality of food that they are selling. So that, again, we do not have a problem where you find that most of them do not have the necessary licenses. So that would be my suggestion, Ms. Tui.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to come in there, during our discussion, in fact, last week after our site visit, we, like I said earlier, we did sit down with the department and the representatives of the small, or the these SMMEs on the taxi rank. So we have enlightened them that we're going to have this document in its draft format, and after which we will then have a consultation session also with them, whether it's going to be through a workshop, but there's going to be some engagements, because the other worrying factor in this is that we've engaged only with the taxi rank, and as you are well aware of, we haven't even started touching on the northern corridors, where there has been an increase now of informal traders operating on that road. And none of those people are licensed. And we need to get them to a point where they will have to get some permits, trading permits, because people are selling food there. We don't even know whether they are in possession of a health certificate, for instance. We have noticed over the past few months reports of food poisoning and all of that, so we need to start getting some kind of control over our informal traders. Councillor Willemse?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we've got to start thinking out of the box when it comes to how we develop our local economic development strategies. Small business is going to be the spine of where our community grows from. And we need to encourage entrepreneurship. So we've got to start looking at ways where we can encourage small business, but within obviously all the bylaws and spheres of control. And that's where law enforcement also plays a major role, where you have somebody who might come up with an idea and start a small business, is operating on the side, but then somebody else sees it and just starts operating illegally. And that breaks down initially what somebody else started. So having permits in place, having controlled spaces, having a proper environment that's conducive to producing business is very, very important. So when I say think out of the box, we're going to look at, for example, Corner Vigilance Drive. Don't we want to create a space there once a week on a Saturday where people can come and set up a stall, table, car boot, whatever, to start a small business. That is a space there. We don't have to use the whole space. We can use a small space and start by developing the idea that small businesses can be created, but within a controlled environment and not just haphazardly without any control. And it doesn't take a lot of time. You look at, for example, the Milnerton Flea Market in Cape Town. That started as a small community project. I know because I was involved there 20-odd years ago. And it used to be a community project. Eventually they had to move it because it got so big. Now they've got a formal site, and it's operated under strict constraints where there are health inspectors on site. If you are doing food, for example, you have to comply with all the conditions, and you have to have a certificate, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be done. We just have to really, really strategize and understand how we can develop small business. And I'm saying very small business. A one-person business is a business. That one person can provide enough income for 2-3 families. And that is what we have to take cognizance of. That this person selling, he's growing his carrots, he's growing his tomatoes, he's growing his beans, but he's providing for maybe 10 other people. And we have to take cognizance of that and how we can make the situation better and work it within our constraints. And remember, we are a small town and we have limited space. But let's start our cognizant thinking of where are the creative spaces, where are the spaces that we can utilize to enable, to create a better enabling environment, that people don't have to be reliant on the municipality for jobs all the time, that they are able to create their own opportunities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that input, and I think it's really relevant, and I hope that the department is taking cognizance of that. Just before I give to the director, you know, I don't think we realize the importance of your input, Councillor Willemse, because it goes back to the so many questions that was raised in the Section 80 meetings around that space there of George Rex and Vigilance. How far is that RFP of RFQ, whatever, to lease out that space or look for potential people that can start operating from there? And to date, we haven't got any feedback from the LED department. Director, can I really ask for a last time? Because we cannot put the blame continuously on SEM, because every time that we've raised this question, it was said, no, SEM is still busy looking into this, and the advert does not get out to the public, because many people have come up with proposals over the last 2 years, 3 years now, for that space, and the hold-up cannot only be between you and SEM. There should be action plan. Is it SEM? CFO?
Can I come in, dear?
Before you come in.
Before
SEM.
CFO, because CFO, I don't know if, I need to put the story first before he can come, because he won't know the story. The manager, SCM, is not here.
No, the CFO is here. So bring the story. No, you wanted to respond before the CFO.
DM, what happened? We did the whole document, expression of interest, by my department, working on it. Then we took it for the bid specification. With the bid specification, it was said, let us refer it to properties, because this is not our property as the LED, it's the property of the municipality. Anything that is to be used or issued out to be utilized, it must be properties. We sat with properties, we gave them all the documents that we have so that they can submit to SCM. As usual, we had to follow up every day on properties to see to it that, remember, we are told it's no longer for us to do that. EOI or RFQ. At first it was going to be an EOI, now it is an RFP. We did an EOI, then it was the SM advised us that let's make it an RFP, request for proposals. So we changed it to the request for proposals. Then it was said it must go through properties must do all that, but we insisted to be part of it. Ultimately, it went to the SM. Then it sat there, we remind, we will be issuing out reminders, emails, printing emails. And now, after having it sitting there, then there have been changes in the protocols in the SCM. The document, before it can be looked at, there is a circular of which I think CFO is going to take us through it, that says it must first go to the user department, and then from the user department manager to the director, and there should be a memo, and these are the areas that you must follow, and then from the director to the SCM manager, from the SCM to the CFO, then from the CFO to the MM, before it goes to the bid, spec and advert. So there is that came, I think, about 3 weeks ago, that process that we need to follow now. But I think CFO is going to take us through that process. Then when we were making a follow-up, remember, we were told this is not for us, it's for properties. But we are doing it because we feel the pinch for our SMMEs. That space is important to us. So now, when we are ready asking, where is an advert? We have been waiting for the advert. It's almost 3 weeks now. No, there has been a circular that came before an advert can go. These are the stages that must follow. So we are doing those stages, and I think we have completed them because I did sign my internal documents. Now we are waiting for the advert. Thank you. I think USEFO is going to assist me on that.
CFO, I've still acknowledged the director. CFO.
Thanks, Chair. Maybe one thing that I just want to mention is to say that we are one municipality, so we should be able to work as a collective together. So I just wanted to have that out, because I'm hearing now, I see the functions being more planning, but they are referring to properties, although properties is having custodian of our properties. But if we need it to use for something, we need to engage each other. So I just wanted to highlight that, to say that we need to work as a collective in terms of those things. In terms of the transaction that we are just talking about, as you see, the CFO hasn't seen it in front of his table, and that is problematic. I mean, I've set up protocols in terms of how we do when we come to specifications, and specifically the memo that the director is referring to, we have set that out because we have seen a lot of specs not being done according to protocol, tailor-made and all those kind of things. I'm just raising it. So the MM and myself have said, and that we said that all those specs must be signed off through the relevant user departments. Then it must move and be reviewed and then come to the MM to sign off finally. But that shouldn't take long. So 3-4 days time if the documents flow. Director have just indicated that they have signed off in this, and I'm not aware of it, so I need to follow up that with supply chain. Why is it delaying? Why, if it's delays there, why is it still not there? Because it should move, should come to me, should go to the MM to sign off so that it can be advertised. Because me and the MM have decided that nothing must be advertised without us seeing it. Because we say just heard things every time there's a tender, but you are the CFO, you don't know about it. So that is the reason why we've issued that directive to say that all specs must be reviewed by the user department, because people were accusing other people in terms of saying that this spec was changed by whoever. So what we have referred to is that all specs must first be reviewed by the relevant user department, and then it must go to for ACM protocol, be reviewed by the ACM manager, and then come to myself and the MM. So I just wanted to indicate on that process. Thanks.
Thank you. Just before I've acknowledged MM, let me just also welcome our councillors, the MMC for Corporate and Governance, Councillor Kay, Councillor Petros, and Councillor Arendse, also to this meeting. MM, before I give you, can I give to the Director Corporate?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, two things. One, in relation to this discussion, there has been previous exercises, perhaps not particularly to do with informal trading per se, but where the municipality has already been resourced with technical assistance, where I remember for the NDPG process, that at many of the places where we envisaged potential trade and business hubbing, that there were actually processes where the traders were involved in giving their inputs on what's happening, for example, at the taxi rank, etc. So I don't know to what extent that information that was part of really a different project, but has some impact on this and is obviously also valuable information for the municipality in respect of informal trade. If people have been interviewed at these, it was at Sanlam Nekis as well, and at other places where perhaps that information needs to be drawn in, because they did actually do quite a lot of robust, in-depth work for that. Then I wanted to just remind us that several years ago, and I'm glad that Ntombekaya is sitting here, I think there was quite a successful program, which was then, council did give some budget towards it.
Just, okay. I just
I
wanted
see
to,
him.
yeah, because Councillor Grootboom just locked off, but he's back on. Thank you.
There was where the LED department had on Saturdays in various places, and it was supposed to be extended so that there's opportunity for Renendal, Karatra, etc. But where they had these Saturday morning markets that were pop-up markets, not every Saturday, but they rotated it. I remember Ntombekaya put up her beautiful bright umbrellas, and traders and people selling clothes, etc., all set up their market. They've had one at Hornley, there was one held at Sanlam Mall, and some of the equipment and the things that was used for that is still in the possession of the department, and that was quite an interesting way also to try and see where the appetite is for people to have a market and where people find it convenient. And I would encourage the department that if that can be revived as part of the strategy, so it could even include in the interim that one could use George Rex as a pop-up space for that kind of endeavor, so that one can see, because it's one thing to say we want to do it there, but then nobody comes. And these pop-up markets that used to be held was a good indicator for the municipality whether this is worth a future investment, and to what extent that investment should be made so that it can have more permanency. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director. Emma?
No, Chairperson. I did discuss this. One time we had a visit with Councillor Sabah there, because she was very concerned about that space. And I phoned Ronnie on the spot to check the progress on the EOI. And I was told that the EOI was en route to my desk. And I made a follow-up with Lungiswa to check where was the matter, because as CFO is saying, we are one municipality, we are Knysna municipality. It's just that there will be department, there will be that section, but we are one family. So it should not take so long. This thing has been, I'm told it has been in the system for quite too long. And that space now is being used by all these Wunga guys, that space. You know, a space that can be used profitably. We can even generate an income and other spaces around. Now, you find that every space that is available is used by the vandals. They go, they occupy that space. The day we were there was somebody who was feeding them, you know, who came there with lunch and, you know, and they are using that as their space now. So for me, really, Mrs. Tunga, I think through the LET, we need to identify also more spaces so that we can utilize them and make the Saturday vibrant. Saturday be vibrant in the municipality, very vibrant. You know, and it is possible. It is possible to make Saturdays vibrant, you know, in terms of the, even early morning markets, you know. That concept is an LET concept, and we must be able to promote. So I was going to request that maybe as a resolution, we check CFO and Mrs. Tunya, they must make a follow-up so that they can update me and yourself, Chair, about where it is, so that it can go out. Because there are a lot of people with a lot of good ideas. Lot of people, you know, as we were there, the Revive Neisner came as we were there. They shared their plans, but we said, no, it must go through a process. Unfortunately, we can't allocate them. You know, it must go through a particular process, an SCM process. So it's, the matter has been in the making for quite too long, and I'll be happy, Mrs. Tunga and CFO, if this can be brought to an end through an advert, so that people can come with the idea. They are beaming with ideas, Chairperson. It's same with search field. There's a lot of space that we are not utilizing profitably.
Thank you. Thanks for that input also. Councillor Campbell?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Chair, from my experience, one of the biggest problems we have with the tenders that don't get awarded or take forever, it starts with the specs. If you don't have good specs, it sets up the whole process for failure. So I know councillors are not supposed to interfere in tenders, in supply chain, but I would very much appreciate it if it's at all possible, if the administration can bring us the draft specs, maybe as a supplementary item to this week's corporate meeting, so that we can just make sure that the specs actually are, reflect the intention that council has before we advertise it. I'm not trying to delay it, but you know, one of our big problems with the security tender is we've written the specs so that it costs as much as possible to secure this town, not as little as possible. So that's just a suggestion, but I agree, we've got to expedite this matter. But I think it's very important that councillors are satisfied that the specifications are actually going to deliver the result that we intend. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Campbell, I've taken note of your concern, but we cannot go to that extent. We're not going to put ourselves at risk here.
I will then comment on the specs when they're advertised if they're not right. That's fine.
No problem. Okay. I think we have, is there anything else you want to add, Director, to this?
No, 2%. It's just to acknowledge the comments that the members have made in addition to what we have now. We will be taking them into consideration and see how we make them feature in this document. Yes, but I just wanted to make a comment on Councillor Campbell's request in terms of markets where the supermarket is selling the veg, and in front of the same supermarket you see informal traders selling the same vegetables. Maybe that needs a thorough market analysis, because it's not a problem in Neisner only. Almost in all the towns, this is what is happening. What you normally find is that even myself at times, winter, you find these people are selling oranges. And their oranges, bag of oranges, are cheaper than the one you get inside at Checkers. So I don't know how they do it, but it's common that you find if there is a big fruit and veg market, a supermarket, in front of that supermarket, you'll find these ladies selling same spinach, tomatoes in small bunches. So I think they have a way of competing with them, and they are able to make money out of it because they sell it in small quantities, and you find it at times it's cheaper. So I think if maybe we look into the areas of need where that product is not there at all and encourage that, I think it could be something that would formulate into some form of small spaza shops or and so forth. But then it will look at the location, where can it be located also. So I think we are taking note of all this, and then just to say, I'm not sure how we can run away from that, but it is very common in almost all towns of major towns of South Africa. Stakeholder participation, yes, we have indicated that we will do the stakeholder engagement, and then we will be cleaning up the database. There was a comment about the database. We do have the database, but we need to update and clean it up to indicate exactly what each trader is trading. Are they still trading? Then we have to update our database monthly. Yes, we've noted then with the weekly markets, pop-up markets, we need to resuscitate that. However, we might need to develop a concept. When I was inquiring about it, sometime when I came about this, there was an issue of more of looking at the interest also in the areas, which I think we will need to take it up and revive it. I've also noted it. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Councillor White.
I think
Before Councillor, is there a person?
Yes, Chairperson. Chairperson, you mentioned the issue of the northern areas and the informal trading that's taking place there. I think from an infrastructure point of view, we've noticed over the last few years that the informal trading that's taking place has become more formalized. Previously, the informal trading was taking place in less formal establishments. But you found in the last 2 to 3 years, there's more formal buildings being established. And you find along that road, the bulk of infrastructure services, infrastructure is established along that road, including major pipelines and sewer infrastructure. There's also services of other sectors as well, such as fiber as well as telecom services. And you're finding that the informal traders are building or establishing their facilities over that infrastructure. And recently we found that we developed a leak on one of the major pipelines, and that leak was found inside one of the informal dwellers. Now, it poses a major risk because of the high pressures that those pipelines, for example, are operating under. And there's a potential hazard for people to be injured or hurt in the event of sudden failure of that infrastructure. There's also potential for people damaging electrical cables and those kinds of things, especially if establishments start to gather a number of people within those facilities. So for example, it's a tavern or a number of people are inside those facilities. So I think there's a risk, and we've been raising it on a number of occasions, and I think it's something, like you've mentioned, needs to be dealt with urgently. Thank you, Chairperson.
Oh, sorry, Chair, I forgot to mention, Marlene talked about the neighborhood development study that was done, the investment. Yes, we've got that, and we have used it to develop business plans to apply for funding. We were having engagements with the Department of Small Business. Remember when the minister was to come? So they said we must consolidate a proposal to support. So we were looking at the support for the northern areas. However, now that project has since been suspended because CEDA is no more. We've got CEDFA. And then the act that was governing that kind of funding and activity that we were going to do is no longer in existence. So that project now had to be suspended. However, we are still in engagement with the acting CEO in terms of which funding stream now we can use for that particular proposal that we have set up. Because when we want our traders to trade in a particular space, we need to provide the necessary infrastructure, trading stores and everything, so that it is appealing to the eye and, and conforms, as it has already been indicated, to the laws and regulations that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Councillor White, just a very concern. After listening to what Mr. Haripasat have just said now, it is of concern to me that my question would be, have you discussed that internally or interdepartmentally? Because we have now identified the Northern Corridor as a potential informal trading site. And if that is the case where there's, as you rightfully explained, our bulk infrastructure running on that side of the road, and there is potential threat that we will urgently need to look into that, because it will not be correct for us to continue with a project which will create possible future, whether it's going to be damages to infrastructure or human loss, for that matter, due to the high pressure of those services. So, Director, we will have to sit down with infrastructure, have an in-depth discussion around all of that issues, and if needs be, that we have to engage with those traders, that we will have to do so. And I think law enforcement will have to play its part also now, so that we can start regulating. I don't know whether we have a database of all of those traders operating on that Northern Corridor. And if not, we will have to start getting that information also now, as we rightfully said the other day, that we need to get a database of all the traders on the taxi ring. Then in fact, those ones on the Northern Corridor, and also then look at this RFP at Vigilance and George Rex Drive. If you can, I'm just trying to figure it out now how we can put it into our recommendation. But before we get to the recommendation, Councillor White?
Yes, Chair, thank you. I think it's important that the committee takes recommendations that are sensible or that are conducive to the administration actually performing in terms of the targets that were set. I actually just wanted to commend the department. I think the strategy emanates about 2 weeks ago. The committee had a meeting, and part of the recommendations of the committee was that the department expedites the drafting of the strategy. It was a recurring issue in the quarterly reports that they experienced challenges with informal trade in the municipal area. And the committee actually resolved that we expedite the strategy and that regular feedback is provided to the committee in terms of how far they are with the process and in terms of the implementation thereof. And I think also that led to Mako going on that oversight visit to the taxi rank to see how we can resolve some of the blockages that we are experiencing within the department specifically. It's a pity the acting director has stepped out, because part of this, you've rightly mentioned, is enforcement of our strategies that we have, and it's important that the strategies align interdepartmentally and that they don't speak past each other. So it's important that we speak internally to each other. Actually, just wanted also an update in terms of the committee resolved that the Director for Community Services be instructed to assign a dedicated enforcement officer from law enforcement to assist LED in terms of the enforcement of our bylaws, specifically surrounding informal trade. So I just wanted an update on that from the Director, whether that has happened. We know we have challenges with the amount of officers that we do have available to assist the relevant departments that do have bylaws that needs to be enforced. So maybe also just a comment, Chair, to the municipal manager in terms of the process that we are currently engaging with the organizational review, that we consider assigning, or that the user departments include in this new that org that we are currently busy with, that they assign officers for each user department that has bylaws that needs to be enforced, that the user department actually includes in their staff establishment for the departments, officers that will assist in the enforcement of the bylaws. I think that will assist greatly going forward. It will also alleviate the pressure that is currently on law enforcement to ensure that they can focus on safety otherwise within the town. So just that's some of my comments, Chair, and just thank you to the LED department for ensuring that the strategy has been expedited, that we can commence the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Director, anything that you want to comment on? I think just a quick question on what Councillor White was referring to. How far did you came between the two departments, yourself and community service, with regards to dedicated officers, law enforcement officers to the taxiing?
We do not have a person that we have been given. Maybe Ashal will indicate, but he is out now, that if he has anyone that he did instruct internally in the department. But I think we would need at least a minimum of 2, because we also have an issue of illegal signs, advertising, some posted on the walls, outdoor advertising. So there is quite a number of advertising posts that are illegal there. So we need the support of law enforcement to remove those and then take the necessary steps. So we don't have the names yet, but I know there is one person we normally use for the outdoor advertising when he is available. But I think that needs to be formalized, and that person be given a formal instruction by the supervisor that he or she is responsible for this. So we will then talk to get the exact names. So that's the status, Chair, of this one.
Director, thank you for that. Can we get in our next mayoral committee or something, because this is also now been ongoing for quite a number of meetings now, and we have asked for some people to be assigned for that specific purpose, and it hasn't been done. Can we then ask you between the two departments that you really look into it with urgency, because some of your staff members, so that once they also go to the tax rank and get the database, that they also familiarize themselves with whoever is there. Because we cannot only speak about this in our different Section 80 meetings, but there's no action taken. So if you can just look into that, and then just on the issue of these placards and stuff, do you know, we all know Boza. You know Boza? Or Bosa? The elections was held in last year already, and I still have noticed that Bosa is still hanging, looking at us, waving at us. And our department is responsible for sending out these letters. I've been, through our IEC meetings, I've also addressed this. and it has never been addressed properly because it cannot be almost 1 year after the national elections that we still have Bosa waving at us. Please.
In fact, really, we are raising a very critical issue because we, through PLC meetings, parties are given particular period to remove the posters, even if they were by-elections or whatever. So I think we need to revive that, Chair, because it's now a nuisance, and it's in breach of our bylaws. So you are raising a very critical point, Chairperson, because the enthusiasm in which you put those posters must be the same enthusiasm to remove them down.
Councillor White, and then I will give to the manager.
Yes, Chair, I think it's equally important that I've actually had a brief chat the other day with the manager responsible for that department, and that was one of the issues that came up in terms of the difficulty that they even have with getting those posters down. Also the challenges that law enforcement is experiencing to assist them with doing that. So that was also one of the things I actually said, maybe they must include in the next quarterly report, have the recommendation for the committee to resolve on that we can again get community services to be instructed to have an officer assigned to them. Part of the challenge for the posters that are still up, during the elections there was a circular or something from Salga that had municipalities give a waiver to political parties. And that is part of our challenge, that now because there's a waiver, political parties don't apply then to have these posters flighted, which leaves the department in the predicament that they do not have the contact details to get a hold of these departments. So even if the next round of elections come about, we must actually look very closely at that. Should there be another waiver for parties to not pay the fees to flight the posters, that we still ensure that applications are actually lodged with the department to get approval for those posters to be flighted. Otherwise, we will come again after the next elections a year later or 2 years later, then we sit with posters on our polls. So, yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Is he going to proceed?
Right. Thank you, DM. Thank you, Council, for talking on that with regards to the exemptions. I think, that is the specific reasons why we're struggling. And I've noted last year that we granted exemption. I think in the future, I think municipality should not grant exemptions, because these political parties are not adhering, and it is the same people sometimes that sit in our council meetings whose parties' posters are on there. And we must make, especially when we have to take it off DM and MM, we have to ask the law enforcement, and then they will have to ask the electrical department or the fire department to use their trucks, because it's so high, some of the posters. So we're using a lot of our resources at zero cost for the political parties. So I believe if we can get a person from law enforcement to assist us, but the challenge is always that the political departments are not adhering to the bylaws.
Now, just a quick question. If you take off the posters or using our resources to take off the posters, the bylaws doesn't make provision for those parties to get a fine, because if that needs to be the case, we should do that.
Currently, we don't have a fining system. We're busy with that, but we will address that with the review of the bylaw. We're currently reviewing the bylaw also. DM, on that, the reason for the refundable deposit is actually for that, when a person or when a party does not take their posters off. Then we keep that refundable deposit, and then we remove the posters, and then that money is the municipality's money at the end of the day.
Okay, noted. Okay, thank you very much. It was a very brief interaction now, discussing a couple of things which were not really part of the of the item in front of us, but I think just to come back to the recommendations, committee, I think you just need to assist me here with the recommendation. So recommendation 1, that the draft informal training development strategy be noted pending full consultation with internal departments as well as informal training sector. We keep it as is? Yes. Recommendation B, any additions? With
No,
regards
Chair,
to-
I think we can keep that we note the current strategy, so when it comes back to the committee and there's something that's been left out, that we can maybe then include it in the additional recommendations, should we feel the need to do that.
Okay, happy? Thank you very much then. Then that is our recommendation, only one recommendation at this stage. Then this is then the closure of this meeting. I would like to thank each and every one for your attendance. All present here. I hope to see you in our next mayoral committee meeting. So thank you very much. Meeting then adjourned.